Hi everyone, I'm Toluca from Markers and Minions, and I'm excited to take you behind the scenes and show you how I create my teaching resources. So I've decided to call this live video series Design With Me because if you know me from the past, I've done Plan With Me videos that were all live. So Design With Me is my new video line. In the past year or so, I've really started to kind of shift my focus into creating new types of resources. Those of you that have followed me, you know that I've been kind of in like the benchmark advanced world for a couple of years, and I kind of let go of doing those lives and kind of let the group become what it was so that I could focus on my own creative endeavors. And with that, I'm hoping that doing this new live video series, I'm hoping that I can kind of ignite something new for myself so as to keep things exciting for me. So, hi everybody. Hi Gail. Hi Kara. Hi. Yes, you can watch it right here on Facebook. It's live and it's not going to be deleted afterwards. So if you have to leave, you can always come back later and catch it later. Or if you want to re-watch it. And I'm going to try to keep these somewhat short because I don't want to overload with too much information. I've been designing, a little bit of background, I've been designing teaching resources since 2013, I want to say, and I've been on TPT selling as a teacher seller since then. So my experience predates my benchmark experience by quite a bit, but I have gotten a lot better in the last 7, 8-ish years or so. So I'm going to try to keep these videos mini and bite-sized and try to like remember what it was like when I was first starting, and really start with the basics and build off of that. So today what I'm going to do is just show the program that I use. I'll explain why I use it and how to install fonts, and I'll show you all how to make like a basic template. We can make a word sort, which is something that I think will be manageable because in my Google Classroom course, one of the tutorials is how to make a word sort, and I think that's been well received and pretty easy to follow along with. So we'll start with that. I'm working off of a Mac, so there will be some differences. I've never worked on a PC, but if, for example, like the process of uploading fonts, it will be different on a PC, but those are really easy things to Google. So you will be able to like kind of jot down questions and figure out afterwards, and I can always help you afterwards too if you're on a PC. Once I sign off, I can help you figure things out. Okay, so we'll do fonts and then we'll create something fun together. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to bring this over onto this screen, and if I'm looking this way, it's because I'm reading comments. So hi everybody. And now I'm going to share my main screen. Can you all see my desktop? I think you can. Okay, so first of all, this desktop is my organizer. This is actually a JPEG that I just made as my background wallpaper, and this was all designed in PowerPoint. So everything I make is in Microsoft PowerPoint. And the reason why I use PowerPoint is because A, it's what I learned on, and so sometimes it's hard to try new things once you're already familiar with the program, but B, I haven't found something better. There's an equivalent called Keynote here on Mac. I've tried to experiment with that, but similar to Google Slides, Keynote doesn't have as many features. So PowerPoint is great because it converts really nicely to Google Slides, and you're going to have more features available to you if you design in PowerPoint. If you want to keep everything cloud-based and design only in Google Slides, that's totally fine too. You're not going to have as many of the capabilities, but then again, you might not need them. So it kind of just depends on what you're working on. Thank you. Yeah, so this is my the layout of my screen. I just kind of update it per month, keep things organized. All right, so let's open this up. And when I open PowerPoint, the first thing you'll see is actually what you'll probably see are these different like templates here. And I've created my own. So as you can see, a few times I've started to make like a cover template. So this would be like a cover on one of my TPT covers, or word cards. So these templates are really great to just not have to set things up all over again. And I didn't learn about this until like 2 years ago, which is crazy. So I definitely recommend creating 2 templates to get you started. And the first one is 8.5 by 11, and the second is 11 by 8.5. So I'm going to click on here and click create, and then I'll show you how to configure your slide size. So if you don't have templates yet, when you open up PowerPoint, you'll get a slide size that's 16 by 9. So it's a typical presentation ratio. Let's take a minute. Okay. And then, so it'll look longer. I don't like to stay in that ratio because even if you're making something that's digital for your students, you might not know, you might want to print it out someday. So it's really nice to just keep it consistent with the standard printer size paper, just in case, so you have that option to print if you'd like later. So the way you do that is go to Design, Slide Size, and then we're going to go to Page Setup. And then here's where you can enter the height and the width in inches. Now, once you've got your slide looking the way that you need it to be, you can go to File, Save as Template, and that's going to let you name it. So I've kept mine as, the name is 11 by 8.5. And then it's there for me whenever I open PowerPoint, and I don't need to fiddle with the slide size ever again. All right. So now once we're in our slide size, in our slide, this is where we can start playing with like text boxes and shapes and fonts. So when I'm putting text onto my slides, I typically use a text box. Now, some of you have been following me and you know that I love tables, using tables as well. I use tables instead of text boxes, when I want students to be able to type in them because they have better control over tables. And B, when I am trying to line things up on a slide, the table acts as a guide. If you're just doing basic text, you can just go ahead and drag a text box. Okay, so you click on the little rectangle with the A. Sometimes it's I think it's a T on Google Slides, and you just drag it however large you'd like it. And then let's just say I'm going to create a heading, so I'm going to center my text. And then if you look here, here's where all of my fonts are, and sometimes it takes a second or like a minute or so for all of this to load because I just have way more fonts than I need. So whenever there's a TPT sale, what I do is I buy fonts. Those are my fonts and graphics. So I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. Now on TPT, there are some really amazing sellers. My favorite are AG fonts. I have APL fonts. I only use a couple of those ones. And then PB fonts, of course. And I can create a list for you all if you'd like that. And then this one's a fun one too, the BMD Brittany Murphy Designs, I think. And then these KG fonts here, these are all my recent, most used ones. But I have a ton of KG fonts as well, and hers are all free. So you can actually download hundreds of her fonts, and I don't even know where they are on this list. You can download hundreds of them, and if you were to eventually use them in something that you are going to sell, so for commercial purposes, then you go and you can buy a license from her. So that's kind of neat. You can kind of use them for personal use for free. These other fonts, AG, PB, you buy them outright, usually in little packs, and they're good for personal or commercial use. Okay, and then I have a question about PowerPoint, purchasing PowerPoint. Yes, so I purchased Microsoft 365, I think that's what it is, because I'm designing to sell. So if you are planning, and I don't know if you are planning on reselling these, this might not be applicable to you, but if you are going to resell the things you make, you always want to make sure that you're buying the things that you're creating in and creating with. So I purchased PowerPoint, I purchased Adobe PDF, that program, which is what I convert my PDFs to, and you can lock them and make sure that you're you know, protecting the graphics and the fonts that way. And then I always purchase the fonts and the graphics as well. But there are definitely ways like, and Google also, by the way, even a lot of TPTers don't know this. You need to pay for Google if you're going to sell Google products. So you have a G Suite account. So if licensing, I can go into that later if you all are interested, but it's kind of the boring stuff. But anyway, once you choose a font you like, and I'm going to choose Century Gothic, it's my favorite. It's nice and clean and easy to read. As I've began designing more over the years, I've like kind of switched the way that I use fonts. Before it was like crazy fun fonts everywhere. Now it's like, what can the students read? I really like a minimalist look. So Century Gothic is great for that. So let's say we're making a word sort. I'm just going to put my title up at the top, and I want to make sure that this is centered on my page. So I'm going to go up to Arrange, Align or Distribute, and then Align Center. And that's going to snap it right into the center. And I didn't learn that trick until much later too. You definitely want that so that you're not, you know, slightly off in things. So watch this. Bam. You can also set up guidelines on your slide. I don't use them, but when you are dragging, it'll also let you know once you've hit the center, and it'll kind of snap into place that way, and then same this way as well, horizontally. So you can use that. Okay, now I'm going to insert a table for this next part. So I'm going to click on Insert, Table. And since I'm making a long A word sort, I want different columns, right? And I want 2 rows. So the top row is going to be the patterns, and the bottom row, the larger row, is going to be where the students drag and drop their words. So let's say there's AI, AY, A blank E, regular A. I'm probably missing one, but let's start with that. Okay, and I'm going to stretch this across, and see, I forgot to do my row, but that's okay. You'll be able to add to it afterwards. Make sure it's centered, and then I want to make my table white. And I used to do, this is a hack, okay, a tip. I used to do no fill on my tables, and then I found that whenever I would convert it to a Google slide, my tables would automatically all become blue, and it wouldn't let me, in Google Slides, it wouldn't let me change that blue back to transparent or white. So now I always set it to a white fill. And you're going to see also the option to add a border. So I like usually to make the border line just a solid line, and see where it says the 1 point, you're able to make it thicker. So I usually like to do around 3. It's pretty heavy. And what I will do is all borders. So this is kind of neat. In another video, I'll show you how to make like primary lines, where there's the top line, the dash line, and the bottom line. And that's really all done with this. See where you can indicate which lines that you want filled in. But for this purpose, I'm going to click all borders. Okay, I see. Will this work on PowerPoint Cloud? Probably. I think it's all the same features. Okay, and then I want to make this 2 rows, by the way, because remember I forgot. And now I'm going to start typing into my table the different patterns. So when you start typing into a table, you're going to see it's going to be white. It's going to, the words are not going to appear. So what you do is you go home and you configure all of the fonts and the colors and the sizing and all that you need. So let's use a fun font. Let's do Neatly Printed. I like this one. And I'm going to make it larger because her fonts tend to be teeny. And we're going to make them black. So there it is. And then what I like to do is make sure that it's not only centered in my table, but it will also be aligned in the middle of the top line and the bottom line. Yes, Debbie, this recording is going to be saved to my Facebook page, so you can come back to it whenever. I know I'm probably moving fast for some. So what I'm going to do is go to layout. I'm going to center all the text in my table, and then this is the align button. So I want to center it vertically. So this is going to make it push towards the bottom. This will make it push towards the top. And I guess this isn't a good example because we're not seeing much change there right now. But typically, like say I'm typing a whole bunch of stuff and my table is that big, for example. If I do this, see what happens. So now it's center aligned. All right. So this one's going to be A-I, A-Y, A blank E. I want to make this even bigger. And now you're able, with the table, you're able to resize the different rows and columns just by hovering over, and I'm going to make this a little larger for you guys, hovering over the line, and then you'll see my little cursor changed, and I'm going to select it and drag it so that it's about that high. And then when I do that, this bottom line sometimes gets pushed up. So then what I'm going to do is just drag that down there, and this should remain the same. So now I've got this nice table that's centered on my slide that has enough spacing for my students to be able to drag and drop words, or if you were to print this out, they could just go ahead and write words. When I'm creating digital resources, I like to have things floating off the sides of the slides right here and right here. And I've seen that in a lot of other resources as well, where when students are working, they're able to actually grab an element that's off to the side here and drag and drop it onto their workspace, basically. So when I'm creating like a word that I want them to drag, I create a shape. I choose shape and I draw a rectangle. And then here's where we get into colors. So I like to keep I have 5 colors in my Markers and Minions brand or logo, and I have their specific hex codes is what they're called. So I keep them on a sticky note so that I can reference them all the time. I should have them memorized by now, but I don't because I just copy paste all the time. But so the way that you can customize and put a very specific color in is you go to your paint bucket tool, more fill colors. Hi, Anita. And then this is your hex color number. So it sounds weird, but this is basically a code that is a mixture of different RGBs. This is called RGB. And yeah, without going too much in depth, this is where you can customize and get really specific. You can also use the eyedropper tool. So let's say I really like this color on the back of my wallpaper here. I'm going to click on the eyedropper and I will hover it over this part here. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then click OK. And now that's the color of my shape. It's that exact color matches. And I'm going to say no outline, or you can say black. That might look cool too. Yeah. So this is about the size that I want it to be because it fits nicely into the column. And now I need to insert a word onto there. So I'm going to click text, the text tool, and I'm going to just click right onto the box, the rectangle. Otherwise, if you click elsewhere, if you select a text box and then you click somewhere else, it's going to start a new text box, but we don't need that. We want to type directly into our shape. And so I'm going to click into the center of it, and now there's my cursor ready for me to type. So let's say like bacon for this one. I'm going to highlight it, change my font, bold it, make it larger. It will fit to your shape size. So yeah, there you go. And then what I would do now that I already have my first word configured is I would just copy and paste this. Now on a Mac, it's Command C to copy. I believe on a PC it's Control C. So I'm just going to copy and then make a whole bunch, paste them, and then I'll just start filling in words, different words. Okay, so you get the idea. Once I've got all of my different words here off to the side where the kids can drag and drop them, I want to make sure that the background is not going to move around. So this is especially true if you have fun fonts in PowerPoint that won't transfer over to Google Slides. So that's another big plus of using PowerPoint. You can have all these fun fonts. In Google Slides, you can only use the Google fonts. So if you are using these great non-standard fonts in PowerPoint, the way you preserve them is by creating the image and then setting them back as a background. So right now, everything off to the side here is not going to appear in my image. So that's a good thing. Okay, I only want this slide to become an image. Now what you could do is take a screenshot. If you only have like 1 or 2 slides in your slide deck, you can just take a screen grab, and that's different on Mac versus PC, but it's really easy to Google, learn how to take a screenshot. So on my Mac, what did I even do just now? Shift-Command-4, I think. Just drag it, and then a little screen grab will appear, and I can actually just whoop, bring it right back, and now this is an image. Okay, so I could even just delete all of this, and then bam. So I've got an image there. If you've got a lot of slides, like how I'm experiencing this lately with my math slides, I'll have 20 in a deck, and I want to save them all as images quickly. So what I'll do is go to File, Export, and then you have the option to export from a PowerPoint to a JPEG or PNG. So I've got the Wheel of Death because I have a million things on my computer. Okay, so let's say this is my word sort, and I'm going to save it as a PNG. I like PNG because the quality is higher. And then you can choose to save only the slide that you're working on, or you can save every slide in your deck. So this is the option that you're going to want to choose when you've got a whole bunch of slides in here. And then once you click export, you're going to find a folder wherever you told it to save, where you'll have all of these PNG images, and then you can actually go in and set them as the backgrounds onto your slide. Now let me show you what the difference in that is. So don't mind me, I need to take another screenshot because it didn't save before. So let's say on this one, you've got your image that's right on top. So this is better for kids to work with because then they're not going to be able to move the table or move the text or headings or anything like that. But the problem here is that they can still do that, and it becomes slippery. So the benefit of setting it as a background is that it's no longer going to be something that they can click on. So the way you do that is you click on Design again, just the same place we went to adjust our slide size, but now you're going to click on Format Background. Robin, I'll answer your question in just a sec. And here you'll choose a picture. So I want a picture, and then you're going to click on Insert, and you're going to find that picture wherever it was saved. So mine was a screenshot, so it automatically saved to my desktop. There it is. And now I'll insert it, and now it's not clickable. You see that? So that's a lot more stable, basically. And then the kids can manipulate it. I take this a step further. Whenever I've got something off to the side that I want kids to drag and drop, I save it as an image. So what I do is I right click on this, and I'm trying to think like why I do this, why I made the decision eventually to start doing this. And I think it's because I guess it's just less of a chance for them to manipulate things, especially if you're using a fun font here. So you're gonna right click, save as picture, and then you can do this for any text or any graphic, and it basically converts it to a PNG. I'm gonna say this is train, and I'm going to save it to my desktop. Save. And here it is. Now I'm going to drag and drop it. And then that's now my image. So this is what they're going to drag and drop. So I think it's also easier for them to grab with their fingers or with their mouse because they can click anywhere and move it. With this they can't. So once you click in the middle, yeah, see, that's just a hot mess. You don't want to give students the ability to do that. So save as an image, and that's the way to go. So I was asked, why did I choose a shape versus a text box? I think let me see. It's probably okay to use either one. Train. Okay, and then let's go to shape and let's give it a fill. Yeah, so same kind of thing. You can make the same object. I'm just stuck in my ways, I guess. Yeah, there you go. I think that when I adjust this, my box gets bigger. And let me see about this. No, so my shape does not get bigger. So look at my desktop. You see how I made this July? This was done with a shape, and I was able to make the letters go outside of the shape, and that's kind of like a fun artistic effect there. And that's how I did it. So when you are working with shapes, your text can go beyond the shape. I don't know if that matters to you, but I do incorporate that design elements in like some headings and things like that. Whereas this one is gonna move with you. Okay, and Maria, yes, I save each word at a time. So it definitely takes a lot of time to do that. Can you make the first word an image and then duplicate the other boxes? Will those be an image? Yes, so this is an image, right? I made this one an image. So if I copy and paste, I can duplicate, but I'm not gonna be able to then go back and change the words there. Does that make sense, Gail? So sometimes in like one of my, like a math slide, you might create a little graphic that you want students to make an array with, for example. And it's okay if they're all the same. So then you'd make one shape, convert that to a picture, and then just copy paste the picture. And then they can, you know, drag it and make an array or whatever it is. All right. Any tips for organizing all of those images? Do you just save to a desktop each time, or do you organize it? I don't save them afterwards. So on my desktop, the reason why I have this organization is to force myself to not oversave things, because otherwise I tend to do that. I probably have like 30 or 40 screenshots a day. And then at the end of the day, I just literally grab them all and send them to the trash because I don't need to use them again. But I will show you my, oh great. No, don't do that. Oh no. Okay. Hold on a sec. View, I don't want to use stacks. Go back. Okay, thank you. So I will show you my, my math organization for my math slides. So this is kind of gross, but like say that we go into third grade. I don't know, I think I have a lot in this one. So 3OA1, for example, here is the initial PowerPoint where I made all of the elements. Here is the second PowerPoint where I went and inserted backgrounds. So let me show you the difference here. So there are some things that you are going to need to save, and it will just, you know, clutter up your computer, but you're going to want to have both versions of things. And with that, I do need to keep all of the background images. So remember when I showed you file, export, save as PNG? So it saves all of these as images, right? And then I do keep all of those here, because then what I do is I go to a blank PowerPoint and I insert them all as backgrounds. Okay, so now you can't click on that. You can only click on the part that you're supposed to move. Does that make sense? But otherwise, I try not to keep anything that I don't need. So once in the PowerPoint document, you don't need to keep the saved elements. No, yeah, I don't. Like these little cookies, like I don't really, or this, for example, this at one point was a screenshot on my desktop. And then once I got it into my resource, I just deleted it from there because it's here, it's saved here. If I ever need to use this again, all I need to do is like literally drag and drop somewhere else, you know? So it's kind of no different than sitting on my desktop. So if I can, I delete anything extra because my computer's already, it's only a year old and it acts like it's 70. Okay. Yes, Haley, this will save to my Facebook and you can come back to this anytime. All right, so that is the basic introduction. To recap, PowerPoint is our best friend. We like PowerPoint better because we can insert fun fonts. We can find fun fonts on TPT to purchase. You can also do like dafont.com for free downloads, but just be careful. If you're going to resell something, you need to buy the font. If you're on a Mac, the way that I don't think I mentioned this, the way that you save the font and actually get it to show up in your PowerPoint is you open up your font book and then you drag and drop the font file. Let me show you what that looks like actually. I moved some fonts that I have that I made once here somewhere. Did I do that? Is it on my other one? Hold on. Give me a sec. I thought I had my fonts right here. I don't see it now. But so a font file ends with .ttf, I want to say. So if you look at this, it's .png. That means it's a portable network graphic. But the TTF, I don't know what that stands for. True Type Font. That's what it stands for. That's what a font will look like. So it'll appear like an icon, and then it'll say .ttf, and then you just take that and you drag it right into your font book. And then you relaunch PowerPoint. That's the next thing. It's like if you already have PowerPoint open and you just put a new font into your font book, it's not going to appear here until you completely quit out of PowerPoint, relaunch, and then you'll see it on your font list. Okay? And then, so fonts, and then also the benefit of PowerPoint versus like Keynote is that it converts really well to Google Slides, and you're able to, push out easier that way if you are a Google Slides district. All right, so that's it, guys. That's basically the gist of it. I'm gonna delete this because, like I said, don't need anything extra here. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be around in the comments. And if you create something after today, I'd love to see what it looks like. And if you have any ideas for the next video, let me know. I've got a, let me drag it over here. I've got a spreadsheet where I am keeping track of things that are submitted. So I think I went over this one, check. So yeah, if you have any other topic ideas, just let me know. I could do this all day. All right, bye guys.